So this film already was very personal to me, even without all that's going on in the world right now. But I know that you're from Ukraine, and I imagine it's very personal to you. But what I wonder is, what brought your attention to disabled athletes, and how did that happen? How did you put that together to want to do something about that?
So the national Paralympic team of Ukraine was like a long time ago on my radar of curiosity. I was like watching them already during Paralympics in London and Beijing, and it was like always, they were always good, and it was really like there was much better than Olympian team of Ukraine, and it was really astonishing for me because the infrastructure in Ukraine is not really designed for people with disabilities, and but these people like push the country to the top of the world, being fastest and strongest and so on. So it was really like very interesting and somehow also absurd, and like I knew about them already before annexation of Crimea. And of course, as annexation happened, and it was during Paralympics in Russia, in Sochi, it was like very dramatical to watch them, and it was like the first feeling, okay, I must accompany them a while. Yeah.
That's so great. I think we all are probably pretty grateful for you to project that information out to us, to the rest of the world, because, and when you don't have a disability, and you didn't have to care, and you did. So I was looking at the training that you've gotten at Theodore Heuss College. But they have many locations. But I love their philosophy, what they believe in. And I would love you to talk about that, because that's where you had your training, right? In film? Or maybe not.
Yeah, it was the first. I did my first amateur movie in this. This is a program. This is a German program for young people from Eastern and Central Europe. And like they support projects supposed to make some changes in your environment. So, and you can do everything what you can. It's not must to be a movie. But I have thought movie maybe impact more people than some pictures. I don't know. Or books, I don't know, and that's how they supported me, like doing my first movie. And after this program, I like, so they like change. Without this program, I would be still German translator, maybe not movie maker, because after this program, I applied myself to film study in Zurich in Switzerland. So the film study, I was like, it was something else. It was University of the Arts in Zurich, in Switzerland, and it was my diploma.
This was a diploma.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. What a graduate project! Amazing, just amazing. So, Pushing Boundaries has been described at another film festival as a portrait of a country being incapacitated by war. It has lost its limbs. So what a metaphor. That metaphor obviously resonates with me as an amputee, but you so cleverly wove so many of the ideas of loss into the film. Loss of a physical part, a training center, a homeland, not to mention human life in war and occupation. It's just a pile of metaphors. Can you talk a little bit about how you amazingly connected them into this film? Is that too much to ask? I'm sorry. I don't.
No. It's no. It was like very natural decision for me. Like, okay, it's happened Crimea annexation. It was for every Ukrainian a shock, and it was very shocking. And it was for me very like organic to tell the stories through Paralympic team. Because they have this new camp there, and like it was like lost paradise for them, and they tried to regain access to this paradise, and like how you deal with this. Like it was for me like a phantom pain. Yeah. If you had something and then you are cut away from it, and but you like have the feeling of it and necessity to have it, and I just wanted to feel and to see how they deal with this, and how I connect all these layers. I just followed my characters, and because somebody is cut away from their home, their houses, their relatives, their teams, and so on. Yeah.
Well, you succeeded marvelously at doing that, and you're such a true artist. Honestly, it's written all over this film, and I'm so excited that you're in the world and that you're making films. And I'm going to have to throw in an extra question. Sorry, I tried to warn her ahead so that she could like hear what the questions are. But all of these buildings and everything in this country now, what does Odessa even look like? What do these places look like of what we just saw? That was 2014, right? 2014?
2015, 2016 also, yeah.
And now, are these athletes even still there? Do you have any connection? Do you know any updates of them and how everything is going? I mean, that's a big question, but any interesting updates?
Yeah, of course, the city Mariupol doesn't exist anymore, like what we saw in the movie. We have different characters and protagonists, and the war affected them also differently. Depends where they were at this time. Anton from Mariupol. He was really in the city like all spring where this heavy bombing happened, and nobody has contact to him because you doesn't have any how do you call it so smartphones doesn't working, there are no electricity,
Electronics.
and only it was really like everybody was thinking, okay, he's lost. But in the summer he comes out, and now he's in Georgia training. He's training for next Paralympics in Paris.
That's great.
Yeah. Roman from Odessa, the refugee one, he's also in French. He's training abroad, and Valery, the president of Paralympic Committee, he's like he's doing the same, still fighting for the financing, for the possibilities to have some other trainings options for the athletes. Angelica from Crimea, she was in Spain as war began with her team. And despite of the war, like everybody decided to come back to Ukraine, and okay, everybody could go home except Angelica, because between Crimea and other territory was occupied, so she cannot like cross this territory. And she was like for 1 month in Dnipro, privately. And then she waited, she was full of hopes that the war will be over very soon. It's pretty naive, but she was waiting, and then like, okay, she decided to make a very long travel through Poland, Latvia, Russia, like all the way down to Crimea, but she's now with her family. She cannot take participation at the trainings, of course, because it's no way to cross these territories, these new territories that are occupied. Yeah.
So no volleyball team for
For her, no, yeah.
I could talk to you all day, but there must be other people with questions. Are there any questions from Lesia? I'm not seeing everybody. See, I knew there were going to be questions.
Thank you. Hi. I was just wondering, in the film, were any of those areas that you filmed in, was it dangerous at all to be in those areas at the time?
Yeah, we had a couple of situations. It was like really, but maybe most tensions we experienced in Crimea because yeah, we didn't have allowances to shoot, of course. So we did it illegal, and you just must be aware that in Crimea you much things doesn't working, like my cell phone with Ukrainian SIM cards it's not worked with Swiss SIM cards. There's no roaming at all. The credit cards are not working, so you cannot like do some money transfer also, so you can just pick cash and also limited amount of them, and have hopes that it will be enough for your shoot, for your expeditions in Crimea. And it was like we just was like trying not to not catch some attentions from police or from people in uniform. Yeah.
No phone, no credit card, and escaping the police. That was easy. Who else?
Oh, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for this film. And, you know, it came at such an important moment. I think for those of us who, up until the invasion back in February of 2022, had no idea of the commitment of the Ukrainian people, the spirit of the Ukrainian people to fight and for their democracy and not to be taken over. And I just wonder where else, how widely seen has this film be seen, and how important it is, I think, for other audiences in this country to be able to see. It puts such a human face on these extraordinary people who, you know, when you look at that incredible center and then where they actually ended up having to train and ultimately perform so beautifully in the Olympic, what extraordinary perseverance, what spirit. And, you know, it's an incredibly moving film, and thank you very much. But I would love to know, where else is it going, or where else has it been?
Yes, thank you very much for feedback. Movie has traveled a lot. It came out before the full-scale invasion, and it like on the main. Yeah. It was like on the most festivals before this war, and it was in France, in Poland, in England, in Japan, in New Zealand. It is for the first time now in USA, in New York. Yeah. Of course, I'm every time glad if more institutions or more festivals pick up the film, because I think it's really like the story is not so known, and yeah, it was not shown in Ukraine. It is my biggest pain, because it was planned to do Ukrainian premiere in last spring. Like 2 festivals have invited us, but the war has begun, and like all festivals were cancelled, and yeah, and we didn't show the film yet in Ukraine. I hope it will happen in autumn. Yeah, and we had the proposal to show the movie in Russia, because in Germany, like in some festival, in audience was a Russian journalist from opposition newspaper, Novaya Gazeta. These newspapers are now closed after the beginning of the war, and she was like really, yeah, it would be very great to show the movie in Russia, and like after the movie she understand why, it's her words, why like Putin will never win in Ukraine, and so on, and this Novaya Gazeta has like website, online platform, and they wanted really like to switch it for one day, and we was thinking about it very long, but we refused. We refused because, yeah, Anton, we didn't know about Anton from Mariupol, what is with him, what is his destiny. Maybe he could be captured, yeah. And he's like working in the film with Ukrainian military.
So it wasn't safe to show it in Russia.
We didn't want to risk, to give into the risk at all. Even if it is the smallest risk. So after the war, no problem, but not during. Yeah.
Wow, it's amazing.
I want to thank you. I want to thank you for bringing us this beautiful film.
Thank you very much for coming. Yeah.
Thank you all for being a part of this conversation. Thank you, Anita, for moderating this, and really, I think, making it hit home even further, and connects to everything that we're doing here on so many levels. Thank you for sharing this, and thank you all for being here. Next up in this room in about 10 minutes, we have our final feature for the day, but we'll be back tomorrow, don't worry. Another full day starting at 12:30 of great family-friendly short films, many more films throughout the day, closing the day off with our comedy event at the Gotham. Right now, Straighten Up and Fly Right. Jasmine is a Star coming up tomorrow, a fabulous feature film for absolutely everyone. That the conversation will be led by the wonderful Sean Horn, who's here. Thank you all, and tell your friends. Have a good night.